Hallo iedereen, welkom bij toch&Go. Today I want to talk to you about a very complicated word, a small word, but a very complicated one called toch. If you're a beginner, you might have already heard about that word. I'll be giving you two of the most common usage for toch as beginners, low-level intermediate students. And then afterwards I'll also be giving three very common usages of the word toch for intermediate advanced students, so more like on a B1 going on to B2 level. So just for you to be aware of that. Please don't panic if you're a beginner and you're watching, the final part of this video and you're like, what? Don't worry, you'll get there. Everything takes time. Finally, also something about toch. I need to say something about the placement of toch. Normally you would place toch in a sentence where you would put niet. If you're unsure of where to put niet in a sentence, you can watch a previous video that I made about the location of niet, because basically the rules are practically identical. First usage of toch. First of all, in combination with an imperative, which is probably the one, if you're a beginner, that's probably the one usage that you've already heard about. Kom toch hier. Blijf toch zitten. Wees toch kalm. Je bent zo nerveus. Je moet niet zo nerveus zijn. In which case it means irritation. Or you could also use it to insist that you want someone to come along or to do something. Kom toch mee. Het gaat leuk zijn. Ga toch mee. We gaan een leuke avond hebben. Here you're kind of insisting and trying to convince someone to join to do something. Yeah? I think those are the two most common usages of the word toch in combination with the imperative, and that's basically what they mean. And if you're a beginner, I'm sure you know about that. If you're a beginner, you might also know about the second usage of toch, number 2, which is toch in combination with niet or wel, which is what you can use when you argue. Very simply put, you can use toch niet or toch wel. Toch niet, you can use, for example, when someone says, het Nederlands is een moeilijke taal. Toch niet. Je moet een beetje studeren en een beetje naar muziek luisteren en leuke programma's zien. Het komt goed. So, you're kind of saying, no it isn't. And then, the exact opposite of toch niet is toch wel. For example, ik vind de video's van Dutch&Go niet zo interessant. Toch wel, die zijn heel interessant. Nout is een goede presentator en hij legt de dingen zo duidelijk uit. Dankjewel. Basically. So, toch niet, toch wel. These are, I think, two of the most common usages of toch for beginners. Now let's move on to something for more advanced students, intermediate to advanced students. First of all, toch in combination with the future tense gaan or zullen, which is simply put an indication of a change of plans. For example, ik ga vanavond toch naar huis. Mijn moeder heeft eten voor mij gemaakt. Implying that even though previously I had said that I wouldn't go home, now I will because my mom has made dinner. So I'm indicating there's a change of plan. Or for example, we gaan toch tot volgend jaar wachten om naar Nederland te verhuizen, want het is een beetje moeilijk met de pandemie. Meaning, implying that, even though we had originally said that we would maybe move this year instead of later, now we'll postpone it to next year. So it's an indication of a change of plans we have. Changed our plans. We are aware that we are contradicting to what we are saying, which kind of, is a general, let's say, meaning of the word toch. It always is an indication of a sort of contradiction, except for when it's used with the imperative. But other than that, it's normally indicative of a contradiction on some level, generally speaking. The fourth usage of using toch is in combination with zou zouden, which is the imperfect tense of the verb zullen. Zou zouden is normally used in hypothetical sentences in combination with the linking word als. But here you can use also zou zouden in combination with toch, which is kind of like where you're reaffirming someone else's plans or what someone else has said. You're kind of quoting what someone has promised because you're kind of not sure about whether that is actually now going to happen or not. So for example, imagine that you're supposed to meet a friend at 2:30 and it's 2:45 and your friend still isn't there. So then you can send a message to your friend and ask, waar ben jij? Jij zou toch om 2:30 komen? Didn't you say that you were going to be here at 2:30? That kind of thing. Or for example, a mayor is going to open a hospital and the show is supposed to start at 3 o'clock. The presenter is waiting for the mayor and he's saying, and the mayor is still not there and he's saying, de burgemeester zou toch komen? Yeah. Which is kind of, it's almost posed as a sort of question, meaning, isn't that what we said? You're kind of trying to reaffirm it, but you're just making not a question structure, you're just making a standard main sentence structure and not a question structure, non-inversion. But that's kind of what it means. You're reaffirming what someone else has said. In that case, I also have to nuance it and say that, especially in Flanders, you could also say it as a, let's say, subtle critique or a subtle hint for someone to do something. For example, when a friend of yours is asking for feedback on their knowledge of Dutch, you can say, ik zou toch een beetje meer studeren, als ik jou was. If I were you, I would maybe even study a bit more. Toch, it sort of says like, it kind of nuances the advice or the critique. Or for example, ik zou toch een beetje meer naar de leraar luisteren, want ik denk niet dat jij goed begrijpt wat de leraar zegt. If I were you, I would listen better to what the teacher is saying. So it's a very subtle way of giving advice, giving critique. Usage number 5, in combination with hoewel or ook al. First of all, hoewel, it means like even though. And hoewel, we combine it with a subclause structure. Whereas ook al means exactly the same thing, but you combine it with a main clause inversion. And then the second part of the sentence can consist of toch, can start with toch. Let me give some examples. Here again, it reinforces the contradiction. Hoewel ik het Nederlands een leuke taal vind, toch vind ik het nog altijd moeilijk om de uitspraak goed te doen. Even though I think that Dutch is a beautiful language or a nice language, I still have problems to get the pronunciation right. Ook al wil ik graag in België wonen, toch ben ik niet zo overtuigd van het weer. Even though I would like to live in Belgium, I'm still not convinced about the weather. So here, it kind of means that. It kind of implies a contradiction. It reinforces a contradiction that is started with hoewel or ook al. There you go. These were 5 of the most common usages of the word toch. I know that I wasn't complete, so please don't kill me, but I wasn't complete. There's still some other things, but these are 5 of the most common ones, and if you're a beginner to upper intermediate students, I think these 5 tips will help you to understand and get a grasp of what the word toch means. Isn't it amazing how we can have such a small word and that it can mean like so many different things? I think that's really impressive. I hope this video was helpful to you. Please let me know in the comment box down below if you have any questions, any suggestions, any tips on what I maybe should have also included, or what you think that I left out and that you would have liked to have featured in the video instead. Let me know, all of it in the comment box. Thank you so much for watching. Tot de volgende keer. Toch? Dag!